Political activist Jose Lake Jr. says he has requested Phillipsburg's name to be changed to Great Bay. Air Aruba pilot infected with the coronavirus. But first up, Minister of TEAT gives an update on the reopening of the Princess Juliana International Airport. Those are the headlines for Thursday, July the 2nd, 2020. Welcome viewers, this is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie from Britain. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Ludmila de Wever, gave an update of the reopening of the Princess Juliana International Airport, which has since been postponed for 2 weeks. The minister was at the time speaking at the press conference, which was held on June the 30th. The minister said that there had been significant changes which warranted them to make a very hard decision for the economy of the island, but make a very easy decision for protecting the health of the island.
As you all know, we were working towards a July 1st opening date for the airport, which we are still doing. The airport's going to be open as of tomorrow. So flights are open to Europe, the listed islands that we have previously updated in thematic, which is Curacao, Aruba, Bonaire, Saba, Statia, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, British Virgin Islands, as well as US, Europe. That was the original plans for us, was to open on July 1st for those countries. What has happened in a very short time, from Friday to today, there has been significant changes which warranted us to make a very hard decision for the economy of the island, but make a very easy decision for protecting the health of the island. And that was that we would delay or postpone flights from the US for 2 weeks. And last night we were initially thinking about doing it for Florida, but now it's going to be for a period of 2 weeks so that we can reassess the mitigation efforts in the US. Even though we have a very strict protocol for passengers coming to the island, all passengers are required to do a PCR test in advance. They have to receive the results within 72 hours prior to boarding. They have to upload, now that the online questionnaire form is live, they have to upload the questionnaire to stmartinentry.com, STMAARTEN entry.com, and include, select whether they are a resident or a visitor or non-resident, and proceed to upload the negative results there so that it could actually be vetted by someone here and the data is protected. One of the things that I will bring up right now is that I am very happy for what I have seen on the island in terms of people wearing their mask when they're going into businesses, when they're going into shops, to any enclosed space. But one of the things we have to keep in mind is that if we are going to open up, we have to be continuously practicing social distancing, continuously wearing our mask, because there's no way that we are going to be able to separate ourselves from opening up the island any further. That requires really responsible behavior on the Dutch side of the island, which we have already been doing, but we have to continuously doing. So we are going to continue to remind the staff from all the ministers to go out there and make sure that there's constant PR marketing being done for us to do social distancing and masks. What you are seeing now from everyone that actually before questioned the power, I guess, or the success of mask wearing, you're seeing that they're asking it now in the US to make it a requirement. That's going to be our new norm. We have to do it from the airport to the taxi, when we're home, everywhere, in order to minimize this.
Meanwhile, on Wednesday morning, July the 1st, Emancipation Day, several employees at the Princess Juliana International Airport held a manifestation. They are demanding that the Chief Executive Officer at the Princess Juliana International Airport, Mr. Brian Mingo, tender his resignation. Seemingly, the employees are frustrated with the manner in which the CEO is handling matters relating to them. They are disappointed that they have yet to receive their vacation pay, the cost of living adjustment, and their bonus. Ricardo William of SXM Daily News was on hand for the manifestation Wednesday morning and spoke to Faye George, one of the protesters.
So what's going to happen from here on out? Now you have the strike. It's very early in the morning. What's going to happen? You're going to be striking all day?
Well, as long as it doesn't happen with the word are going to do, well, we still do it. As long as we don't hear the word I am going to do, we're going to continue doing it.
Meeting no more. Too much of meetings already. We ain't getting nowhere.
We have meeting from
meeting done.
Weeks now.
No more meeting.
Meeting done, money nothing. One thing I realize with SXM Airport is that they love to have meetings. They love to have meetings, but they never go through with what they're supposed to do, as in action taken. And right now, we are fed up, so we are taking action because action speaks very much louder than words. Because we can sit and read the whole narration, proper English, yeah.
Together we stand. Together we fall. Together we stand. Together.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for the UP, Krisha Heiliger Martin, says that she is standing in solidarity with the workers. She said that she held a meeting with the CEO of the airport, Mr. Brian Mingo, who never gave her an answer that she posed to him regarding the workers' pay. She explains.
The airport to stand in solidarity with the workers, the employees. And while there, I met Mr. Mingo. I went actually last week to the morning meeting. And at the end of that meeting, I told Mr. Mingo, come July 1st, when the airport opens and these employees decide to strike, it's going to be on you if you don't come to a consensus with them. Here we are, July 1st. I saw Mr. Mingo again and I said, Mr. Mingo, here we are. They're striking. Are you going to pay what was promised to them? Yes or no? Mr. Mingo started to talk and veered away and never replied to me. He never gave me a concrete yes or no answer. Few hours later, I think the mediator came. Mr. Mingo, the unions and the mediator went in the back. I also went in the back, but I didn't sit into the meeting. And I started to ponder. I'm like, here we are. Airport promised to pay their workers the 2017, 18, and 19. I think it was the COLA. I'm not well versed on it, so maybe I could be wrong. They told them that they will defer their vacation pay at a later date. And then now they're not paying them what was promised. You have 250 workers. I can guarantee you 70% of them have family members home, by extension, that is not working, can't pay their bills. So had Mr. Mingo paid them what was promised to them, a lot of people would have been good. We would have said by extension at least 700 people, 500 people would be okay for the next month or two. You know, you're not only helping 250 people, by extension, you're helping their families, their husbands, their wives, their girlfriends. And you just told them, no, you have to go back and crunch numbers.
And President of the Windward Islands Chamber of Labor Unions, Claire Elshot, in addressing the ongoing situation with the uprisings and manifestations with the various unions on the island, the union president was asked if this is a new normal, and she responded with this.
The problems are of a nature that they have a variety, let's say, with the management. This specific one that we had yesterday is basically based on the fact that the workers know that monies were received, promises were made, but the payment to what was owed to the workers from since 2017 was being tactically delayed. And now that there are cost-cutting measures on the table, these cost-cutting measures want to be implemented without what was due to the workers before even being taken care of. So in that case, you have a variety of scenarios. The ones from the prison is really on occupational health and safety. The problem at basically at the TELEM, I can say it is more or less to do with, the racial discriminative and discriminatory expressions and things that are coming from the management, and the one at the hospital was more or less the same, because at a given moment, the workers that are in positions, especially the lower positions, they are the ones that keep the operation going when there is no management, human resource, or whatever in place. And then when these people get the position, they come in and they really play a number on the workers. And the divide and rule element is again very, very strong in certain workplaces. So therefore, as unified unions, it is a task for us to keep the workers also united, for them to know their rights, but also know their obligations, because when they know their rights, then they can make sure that nobody can, manipulate in their rights. And this is what is happening also of late. A lot of the labor conditions and the CLAs are being violated. And that is where you would then see that there are protests mounting, because you cannot touch my legal and working conditions like this. And these cost-cutting measures, if they're not from the table, we have already sent a number of letters requesting for them to be put off the table by June the 15th. That hasn't happened. And if it doesn't happen, if these measures continue, you will see an increase of actions under the workers.
And still to come, Member of Parliament for the United Democrats queries costs associated with the reopening of the airport. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
And as we continue with more news at this time, at the virtual urgent plenary public session of Parliament, which was held on Tuesday last, June the 30th, Member of Parliament for the United Democrats posed a question to the Minister of Health, Richard Panafleck, regarding the extra costs involved with these measures that will be taken to make sure the airport is ready to receive flights and passengers, and where is the money coming from?
Have you received from the Princess Juliana International Airport the cost involved, the extra cost involved with these measures that needed to be taken to make sure that the airport is ready to receive flights and passengers? And where is that money coming from for these particular investments, the screening, the health location, etc., etc. Talking about the health part and the health declaration that needs to be signed by travelers before entering into St. Martin. Who or what entity will manage these health declarations? So where do they go? Who manages them? Who looks at them? Who, draw conclusions from them? And is there a digital platform for this particular, the health declarations, and for all other matters? Because I can imagine that if any aspect of this would need to happen manually, that is quite a task. So is there in your ministry and at the airport a digital platform to manage these guidelines, the execution and the implementation, including the health declarations to be submitted by travelers? Reference was made in the event persons need to be quarantined and the hotels or resorts here do not have the possibility for quarantining, that then these persons, if the need is there, will be referred to the quarantine hotel that government assigns or has assigned. Which is this quarantine hotel that government has assigned, will be assigning? What is the agreement with this property for the quarantining?
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for the National Alliance, Angelique Rameau, also queried the Minister of Health regarding the safety and security at the airport before receiving passengers.
As you all know, the World Health Organization has a website where they provide information, they provide research as it pertains to COVID-19. And in my research, I realized one or two things that I would like to share here today. On the recommendation for international traffic, the World Health Organization continues to advise against the application of travel or trade restrictions to countries as they experience the COVID-19 outbreak. In general evidence, it shows that restricting the movement of people and goods during public health emergencies is ineffective in most situations and may divert resources from other interventions. Furthermore, restrictions may interrupt needed aid, and technical support may disrupt businesses and may have a negative social and economic impact on countries being affected. In our case in St. Martin, we definitely have been impacted severely in the business sector. However, in certain circumstances, measures that restrict the movement of people may have proven useful, as our lockdown proved very fruitful. Travel measures that significantly interfere with international traffic may only be justified at the beginning of an outbreak, as they may allow countries to gain time. The operative word here for St. Martin being time. Even if a few weeks to rapidly implement effective preparedness measures. St. Martin did more than this to prepare. Such restrictions was based on a careful risk assessment to be proportionate to the public health risk. And these needs to be reconsidered regularly as the situation evolves. Having read this short intro of the recommendations for international traffic from the World Health Organization, I would like to say this. We have currently a dying economy, because we are highly dependent on tourism, yes. We have many persons who do not have an income today because of this. Yes. We need to reopen for the survival of the majority of our citizens on St. Martin. But let me say this, when we open, we need to open in a responsible manner. We need to be prepared, and we need to make certain that everyone entering our beautiful shores of St. Martin follow our protocol that have been put in place for us to remain COVID-free. We can only do this with all hands on deck to keep St. Martin safe and COVID-free.
And in news out of the island of Aruba, the Department of Public Health in Aruba has confirmed that a pilot of Aruba Airlines arrived infected with the coronavirus from the United States. The pilot flew from Jacksonville to Aruba and was tested positive. He was asymptomatic as he showed no symptoms, but they decided to test him, and he was then confirmed to be positive. He is the third active case on the island, which brings the island now to 104 cases in total since March the 13th, 2020. He was sent home to be put in self-isolation. The pilot was in the United States for 2 weeks as he was awaiting an aircraft from Air Aruba to fly back to Aruba. Yesterday, the Prime Minister of Aruba, Mrs. Evelyn Waver Cruz, said that she is following the developments in the United States and will see if the border with the United States, which was anticipated to open the 10th of July 2020, to see if she will still open the borders on the above-mentioned date. The Epidemiology Center in Curacao advised Aruba for not running any unnecessary risks. The same advice was given to St. Martin by the specialists in Curacao. Now turning to our weather forecast for July the 2nd, 2020, the Atlantic high pressure ridge is generating a drier and stable atmosphere across the region. This will restrict shower activity across the local area. Meanwhile, Saharan dust will be present in varying concentrations for the next few days. Persons with allergies and/or respiratory illnesses should take the necessary precautions. Seas are expected to peak near 6 feet during the next few days. So the outlook through Saturday midday, partly cloudy and hazy. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, investigating high food prices is top priority for the Ministry of TEAT. You'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And as we continue now with more news, the Ministry of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, TEAT, is looking into why food prices on the island remain consistently high in comparison to Aruba and Curacao, despite having similar economies. One of the ministry's priorities to prevent price gouging and to promote fair competition. The ministry reviewed a recent study on price developments and logistics in the region commissioned by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The study describes St. Martin's import supply chain as having an effective competition with steady imports from the EU and the US. In other words, the risk of artificially high prices within the shipping market is minimized because of sufficient number of operators, according to the study. Compared to Aruba and Curacao, it further points out that St. Martin has no import duty and a lower shipping cost. These factors should lead to relatively cheaper prices. However, the report expresses doubts about the degree of competition in St. Martin food distribution market, where an oligopoly situation exists, dominated by a few very large players who not only sell at a wholesale level, but also compete at a retail level as well. St. Martin's Consumer Price Index, CPI, increased by a higher percentage than that of Curacao and Aruba, the study shows, with an average rise in food prices of more than 50% over the period of 2010 to 2016 for St. Martin, while Aruba 11% and Curacao 20%, experiencing lower rises over the same period despite each island having higher shipping costs and import duties. The Ministry of TEAT will ensure that there is consistent and constant monitoring of food prices to safeguard fair competition on the island within St. Martin. Additionally, the Ministry of TEAT will keep the public informed about food price developments and encourages consumers to be informed as much as possible so they can make better choices for themselves and their families. The Minister of TEAT continues to consult with stakeholders, including the St. Martin Hospitality and Trade Association, SHTA, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Indian Merchants Association, the IMA. And still to come, final inspection of school buses underway until July the 10th. We'll have the details to that story when SXM Daily News returns. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, the Inspectorate of the Ministry of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunications, Ministry TEAT, informs all school bus operators who have not yet submitted their school buses for inspection that a final inspection period, which commenced on June the 29th, will continue up to and including July the 10th, 2020. This inspection will cover all routine electrical and mechanical aspects of the school bus that contribute to the safe operation of the motor vehicle and the safety of its occupants. The inspection covers more than 25 points on the school bus inside, outside, and hygiene COVID-19 guidelines. Available seating capacity of the school bus has been increased to 50%, driver included. However, a mask, face covering, or face shield is still required to be worn on the bus by passengers and drivers alike. Seats where passengers are permitted to sit must be visibly marked. The bus must also have hand sanitizer installed and available at all times during operation. School bus drivers are required to sanitize their school bus after every trip. It is not permitted to transport non-student passengers on the school buses. Lastly, all bus operators and drivers must have valid documents for their bus or buses and business. This includes a valid driver's license, current Chamber of Commerce registration, business license, proof of valid motor vehicle inspection. If it is a business, your license must also be presented. The release reads in part. And with this, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.